The Last Supper, friends, it's easy to overlook the fact that Jesus, while perfect, was also fully God. He knew the Father's plan. He knew what was ahead of him, and yet he chose to have a meal with his disciples, his friends, one last time before his suffering began. Let's take a look at some of the events surrounding the Passover meal, the night before Jesus died. The Passover meal, Luke 22, 7-13 tells us that Jesus and his disciples gathered in an upper room in Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. Jesus told them he had a desire to eat this meal with them before his suffering began, so they all came together in the upper room. Washing of feet, John 13, 4-15 tells us that Jesus got up from the meal, laid aside his outer garments, took a towel and washed his disciples' feet, even though he wasn't required to do so. He did this to teach them that they should serve one another. The bread, Luke 22:19 tells us that Jesus broke bread and said, "This is my body given for you." He was giving them his body, which would be broken on the cross for their sins. The cup, Matthew 26:28 tells us that Jesus lifted the cup and said, "This is my blood of the covenant, poured out for many." Jesus was giving them a new covenant, a covenant of forgiveness and grace, not of law and judgment, which would be established when he shed his blood on the cross. Betrayal revealed. Matthew 26:21 tells us that while they were eating, Jesus announced that one of his disciples would betray him. This was devastating news for the disciples. They couldn't imagine anyone betraying Jesus, but Jesus told them that the one who dipped his hand in the bowl with him would be the one to betray him, Judas exposed. John 13:27 tells us that Judas Iscariot, who would betray Jesus, dipped his hand in the bowl with the other disciples and then left to go and betray Jesus. A lesson on humility. Luke 22:26-27 tells us that Jesus told his disciples that the greatest among them must be like the one who serves. He who is first must be like the one who serves all. A song of praise. After the meal, they sang a hymn, a song of praise, and went out together to the Mount of Olives. There they would spend their last hours together before Jesus was arrested. Friends, the Last Supper was more than just a meal. It was a time of teaching, fellowship, and preparation. Let's remember Jesus' example of humility and service, his words of warning and comfort, and his willingness to suffer for our sake. Let us remember the sacrifice that Jesus made for us on the cross and the new covenant of forgiveness and grace that he established for us. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Until next time, God bless you, and remember, Jesus loves you.